thatmovieguyUK.
Well, hello. It's been a long time since October. I'm still here. I still have a wall. And yeah, happy New Year. And maybe happy Christmas to you all too, because I probably haven't wished you a happy Christmas. But yeah, it was a hectic back end of 2019. I was going from various conferences, various teaching jobs, family festiveness. I was actually in Germany, Belgium, and London for New Year's, so it was quite a hectic festive season. But I still got to see some movies. Some of them didn't exactly make my list, but still, Cats, I like it. More people need to like Cats. We've seen it twice and I think it's trippy as hell. I love it. But still, we can discuss that another time. 2019, cinematically, has it been a good year? Yes, it definitely has. A lot of great content came out at the back end of 2019, and the festival season really did help this, because the beginning of that year was freaking terrible. And yeah, but those last 6 months, spicy stuff. Spicy. And that's why we are actually doing a top 20 this year instead of a top 10 or a top 15. I change my mind every year. This list is based on my top 20. This is not to do with UK releases, US releases. It doesn't have to do with films that have not actually been released in countries. It's just based on the films I have seen in film festivals, or I have seen in the cinema as a paying customer, or maybe not a paying customer because I got in for free. But still, we are here to talk about this, and I think we should get started. Number 20 is Agnieszka Smoczyńska's Fugue. I honestly adored this film purely for the reason that it was a very interesting film about trauma. It was an interesting mystery film. And obviously, if you've seen Smoczyńska's The Lure, you'll know that she's not exactly one of these directors that necessarily wants to captivate everyone. But for me, once I was watching this film and once it's unraveled, it was just purely something that I enjoyed, the mystique of it. And it is a very interesting film that has really lingered in my mind for quite some time. Number 19 is Roy Andersson's About Endlessness. It has not been released in cinemas yet. It has been out in a couple of festivals. But very oddly, when I watched this film, I was just like, this isn't as good as the previous work. But as time went by, it has really kept me thinking about humanity and our quims with people and how we deal with life situations. And when I spoke to Roy Andersson at Venice, I must say it was one of these feelings where I was speaking to a cinematic genius. And various things he said to me about the film really opened my eye a bit more. But based on observation and reflection, there is just this whole element of how we treat people and how we treat ourselves within this film, and the mundane comedic elements of life really just shine throughout it. Number 18 is Lauren Scifaria's Hustlers. I must say, I thought this was one of the best fun thrill rides I had all year. I actually went to see this with my mother. She picked it. We normally go to a movie every other couple of weeks, and she said, I really want to see Hustlers. And by the opening sultry scenes, it just transcends into this really good heist film. And in a way, I actually have nothing against what anybody did to these men. I think people have to survive in the world, and it's just one of those films where I honestly did not anticipate to empathize with characters. Unlike in The Wolf of Wall Street, you really can empathize with DiCaprio's character, but here with Constance Wu, with Jennifer Lopez, you actually empathize with them and you understand where they're coming from, and the struggles of single parents and what they have to do to earn money. If that's having 4 jobs, it's just how it is. And I think it was such an admirable way. And definitely, yes, Jennifer Lopez should really be acknowledged for this performance, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be happening, but the nominations are coming in. But I believe Laura Dern seems to have this kind of locked with Little Women now, so it is what it is. But still, Hustlers, great cinema. Number 17 is Francois Ozon's By the Grace of God. I am a big Francois Ozon fan. Funnily enough, that's the last video I actually had made on this channel, and it was just a very different change of pace from Ozon, purely for the reason that I think that he created a film that was very much unlike him, and also it was a very interesting way to demonstrate perspective of men and how they deal with past trauma, and how the Catholic Church is operating within France and within most countries. It was just a very eye-opening film, very basic in the way it was made, but a very eye-opening film nonetheless by Ozon, and I am very happy that it made my list, and it really did emphasize to me how great Francois Ozon is as a director. Number 16 is Takashi Miike's First Love. First Love is out on February 14th on Valentine's Day in the UK. If you want to go see something different for Valentine's Day, please feel free to go watch it. But I actually went to see this film, and I didn't necessarily know if I was going to love it or not, purely for the reason that Miike does not make great film after great film. It takes time for him to find his way at times, but this is a non-stop thrill ride of a movie where it's pure action with comedy, with very deep sentiments of love. And throughout the whole process of the film, it is just an adrenaline roller coaster that I just utterly admired. And it's definitely Miike's best film for a very long time. Number 15 is Jordan Peele's Us. And I will tell you, this was probably one of the best films of the first half of 2019. Obviously, everybody keeps talking about Lupita Nyong'o in this film. Just to play a doppelganger in the capacity that she did is such a unique way. And obviously, the whole idea of the film just feels like a very elongated episode of The Twilight Zone, which is something I truly did admire. And in all honesty, I do prefer this to Get Out. I think that it has a lot more rewatchability. I think it does have a strong impact on audiences, and it's something that I believe has not really had the praise that it deserved, especially at this back end. I'm surprised that there's no Best Original Screenplay or anything like that for Jordan Peele. Not even a Best Picture nomination. I don't think it will. Number 14 is The Return to Form of Terrence Malick and A Hidden Life. It is actually out in UK cinemas 17th January. And I think it was definitely the most melancholic of his most recent films, definitely his best film since The Tree of Life. And stellar performance by Daniel Bruhl. It is a very captivating film about faith, about politics, about your own morals as a human being, and it is such a captivating watch, and it's something I am really looking forward to revisiting in the cinema very, very soon. It is just one of these films that I just absolutely admired, and I'm so glad that Terrence Malick has come back from the ashes of To the Wonder, Night Cups, Song to Song. Yeah, it's nice. Number 13 is Alex Ross Perry's Her Smell. I honestly thought with this whole idea of the film, I thought this is like a Courtney Love biopic, but Elizabeth Moss really gives this film so much life. There is a very interesting way that Ross Perry just demonstrates the lineage of a star, and going from the early years to times of great darkness to change and reform. It just continuously intrigues you because there's 5 separate vignettes happening, and just throughout the whole process you just see this development from Elizabeth Moss and what has happened to her in her life. It just works so well, and I just really admired this whole film and her performance in particular. Number 12 is Harmony Korine's The Beach Bum. This is the best stoner comedy I've seen in a very, very long time. I was so frustrated that this film didn't have a UK release day when it came out, so I actually ended up flying over the way to Amsterdam to go and see it, purely for the reason that I really needed to see this in March, because I was like, I'm not waiting until, I think it came out here in October. And honestly, Matthew McConaughey was born to play this role. It is just an all-out laugh of a movie, and I would just watch it. It's so much fun. Number 11 is Shannon Murphy's Baby Teeth. I got to see this in Venice, and it will be rolling out in various territories over 2020. But this is one of those films where you didn't really know if it was going to be this soppy teen drama about a girl who has cancer and falls in love with a boy. But this is a truly unique experience and a very interesting Australian film that I did not necessarily anticipate. But Eliza Scanlon, who is also in Little Women, gives this whole package performance where you just see how she's trying to deal with, well, dying and trying to fight her illnesses. There is just so much to it, and just the way that she ends up going out with this drug dependent fella, and how her family are dealing with their own drug dependencies, being prescribed narcotics and blah blah blah. It's just, there's just so much to it. And there's one scene at the end that just sticks in my head with Ben Mendelsohn, and it truly is a heartbreaking film to watch at times, but at the same time there is just so much relief, and there is just so much humanity within the piece that I just wholly admire it for that. Number 10 is Craig Roberts' Eternal Beauty. I've not had the chance to review this properly yet, but it will be out this year in 2020. I was lucky enough to see it last year, and I thought Just Jim, his directorial debut, was decent, but he has a very interesting voice. He's worked with very interesting directors already, such as Tim Burton with Richard Ayoade. But this film with Sally Hawkins is truly stunning in its production design, within the whole context of the film, the whole idea of mental health as a whole. It just is riveting and very eye-opening for some people. And again, Sally Hawkins just provides another just out of this world performance, and I will review this very, very soon. It's something I really do want to cover, so we'll leave it at that for the time being. Number 9 is Ari Aster's Midsommar. Wow, I still think about Midsommar most days. Florence Pugh, I think this was the film that brought her to the world stage. It's everything that you've heard about it, it's everything that you've read about it, it's everything that I've said about it. There is just so much to pack in, and the director's cut on top of that is even spicier. And again, horror is at a very interesting stage right now, and between this and Us, I had a good horror year, most definitely. Number 8 is Kantemir Belagov's Beanpole, and again, not reviewed it on the channel, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to at some point. But this was a striking film, from its look to its photography to its overall message. It is such a painful watch at times, and just its whole background of post-war Leningrad and survival is purely soul-destroying, but it's something that is also captivating. Number 7 is Pablo Larraín's Emma, and I will say this was like a kindred sister to Climax in a way where dance is its own character. It has a very interesting mystery to it where you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but at the same time it is a very interesting reflective piece on identity, on sexuality, on your stance in the world. And throughout the whole concept of the film, I was just mesmerized by the color palette, by the rhythm, by the motivation of the film. There's just so much to go throughout the whole idea of it, and Larraín really does create interesting films when it comes to home, but also with films like Jackie, just emphasize the sheer genius of him as a director. Number 6 is Greta Gerwig's Little Women. This was the only movie that I saw over Christmas that deserved to be in my top 20. I have seen it twice now, and holy shit, this film is something that I didn't even know I needed. But I've read the book, and I really enjoy the way that Gerwig has changed the formula of the film, how it's portrayed. I think it does represent a lot of concepts that people have now about loneliness, about solitude, about anger, about relationships. There is just so much to pack in it. And then obviously when it comes to the whole film, I think Saoirse Ronan is phenomenal. She just delivers continuously, and I have rewatched quite a few Saoirse Ronan movies since watching Little Women, purely for the reason that, damn, she is one of the finest young actresses in the world, and her as Jo March was just a match made in heaven. And also to have Florence Pugh in this film playing Amy March, you can be so angry with Amy March, but Pugh just gives so much to the performance, and just them working off each other. And then you have Eliza Scanlon, Emma Watson, you have Laura Dern, you have Meryl Streep, you have Chris Cooper, you have Louis Garrel, you have Timothée Chalamet, who is fantastic as Laurie. I loved Little Women, and I cannot wait to see it again. Number 5 is The Lighthouse, and probably one of my favourite cabin fever type of films I've seen in a long time. The duo of Defoe and Patterson just bring so much to the table, and Edgar's unique view and perspective of cinema is something that is so captivating. Between him and Ari Aster, I feel like cinema is kind of safe at the moment. And I truly just cannot get over the fun I had with The Lighthouse, but at the same time how freaked out I was with The Lighthouse. Number 4 is Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. Yes, Parasite. That film everybody keeps talking about. First of all, I just want to make a point. People really need to go backwards with Bong Joon-ho's films. Go and see Memories of Murder before you get bored of Korean cinema again, because honestly, this man is one of the best directors to come out of Korea, and there is this new wave movement, they're calling it now, is just something to be held and to be loved. What I find interesting about Parasite is that it is a very interesting social film, but at the same time, it just gets everything just right. And I think that's why audiences are more captivated by it than what we had last year with Burning, which I feel like has the same kind of social structure, but Parasite just takes it into this next level. Number 3 is Pedro Almodovar's Pain and Glory. I think my review for this film really gives you enough of how I feel about it, but I would like to re-emphasize the sheer brilliance of Pedro Almodovar's film along with Antonio Banderas' performance. I think that this is a very deeply humanistic piece, and I don't think that a film has really grabbed me as much as Pain and Glory has. It has been a bit of a tussle, I would say, between my top 10 even this year. What is my favourite film? But for a long time, it was definitely Pain and Glory. And I would implore you to go back to my video review of this, purely for the reason that I think it's a lot more expressive than what I can in a couple of minutes. Number 2 is Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story. Yes, my top 10 seems to be very similar to a lot of people's, but it does demonstrate to you how good film has been this year. Netflix have killed it this year. They have done such a great job between this, The Irishman, between Uncut Gems, Velvet Buzzsaw. There have been so many great films, but Marriage Story really grabbed me so much, and I have rewatched this movie 3-4 times now. I just connect with this film far too much, I think, and I think what I find interesting about it is that you empathize with Adam Driver one time, you'll empathize with Scarlett Johansson another time, and it just rotates. And just the whole scene of him seeing being alive really just strikes me, and the end scene in general breaks me. I still remember when I was walking out of this in Venice, and I was just almost in tears, purely for the reason that there was just this connection that they still have, and it is purely powerful. I still think it's Noah Baumbach's best film, and I really, really, really want him to make Company, the musical, now as a movie with Adam Driver in the main role, because after listening to him sing it and thinking about being alive, which also features in Lady Bird from Greta Gerwig, who's Noah Baumbach's partner, I feel like there's a Company connection, and they just need to make it now. Obviously, number one is Uncut Gems. I told you 2019 was over in October after I saw Uncut Gems. And I still stand by that. I have seen the movie twice. I have got the vinyl now. I cannot wait to see it in the cinema again. But honestly, it's such a unique piece of cinema that people really have misunderstood in a weird way. And also, for people to go and see this thinking that it's a general Sandman movie, how wrong are you? There is just so much going for it. There is so much angst. There is so much adrenaline. There is such a pressure cooker of a story that has unfolded because of the Safdies. And I do honestly feel that Josh and Benny Safdie really are going to be helming some of the finest pieces of cinema over the next 30 to 40 years. And I pray to all the gods that I will be alive to see this. I honestly do feel like Josh and Benny Safdie are really holding cinema right now in the palm of their hands, and they are going to be at the helm of it for the next 30 to 40 years. And I hope to all the gods in the world that I am going to be alive to see this, because if you can continue making films like Uncut Gems and Dandy Longlegs and Good Time and heaven knows what, you have my attention, and you keep bringing your A-grade cast to me, and I will be there every time. This film needs to be seen on the biggest screen with the loudest noise possible, and then you will know how we all win, because the Sandman is always right. So, that's my list. What do you think? I would be very interested to know what your lists are like. But obviously you need to understand that this is my list, and I always try to give you a different perspective. And obviously, as we say on this channel, diolch, danke, obrigado, merci beaucoup, arigato, dankeschön, bitteschön, all the shuns, and obviously, never change.